Hello and welcome back to this edition of Bayou Time. Again, your host, Keith Whiteside, licensed clinical social worker with Terrebonne Home Care. Very glad you're joining us. However you may be joining us, we appreciate it. And as always, we love to get our updates, especially when it comes to information from the Lafourche Parish Sheriff's Office. We always get that as we can from Brendan Mathern. Brendan, welcome back to the program.
Thanks for having us, Keith.
Absolutely. Thank you for doing that again. Public Information Office, the Lafourche Parish Sheriff's Office. You know, one of those things this time of year, we've got lots of things going on. The Sheriff's Office is always so very involved with the community, but we want to make sure that we're having no fatalities. We want to make sure that we're doing our job at keeping people safe. And one of the best ways to do it is the Drive Sober or Get Pulled Over campaign.
Absolutely. This is something that we've been a part of every year, and this campaign usually runs multiple times throughout the year in coordination with the Louisiana Highway Safety Commission and NHTSA, the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. Those are the two bodies that fund these programs. And basically what that means is they've given us grant money so that we can pay officers overtime to be able to flood the highways and saturate our patrols so that we can be looking for impaired drivers. You know, one of the misconceptions is that we can only effectively find impaired drivers through a checkpoint. And as we've stated on this show many times, the checkpoint does have its role and it is a useful tool, but just as useful, if not more useful, is extra officers on the roads watching for activities that are common with impaired driving. So those officers will be saturating our patrols throughout the holiday season, starting tomorrow through January 1st. We will have additional deputies. You'll see more Sheriff's Office vehicles on the road, not just with us, but with our neighboring law enforcement partners as well, as we are looking for specifically impaired drivers. Now, obviously, that'll be done more in the evening and overnight hours when impaired driving is at its highest. But we will be out throughout the day, always looking for that. Because remember, it's not just about drunk driving. This could be driving under the influence of any potential substance that alters your ability to be able to react on the road. So narcotics, illegal and legal, prescribed narcotics, it can affect your ability to drive. So it's important that even if you're taking legal narcotics prescribed by your doctor, it's important to know if you're able to drive on those medications, because that can result in a DWI infraction. So again, that's what we'll be aiming to do. We also do have a occupational safety checkpoint as well, basically a seatbelt checkpoint that we'll be conducting on December 19th. So that'll all be in conjunction with this program, Keith.
Yeah, and they typically run from December 15th through January 1st, right? That's when we kind of have that focus, that 2-week period where we do that, and just over 2 weeks, in fact, where we try to find that focus of making sure that we're keeping the public safe. You know, Brendan, a lot of people may ask, why do you do that? But there's some very specific statistics that show why it is that we try to get impaired drivers off the road, right?
Yeah, it's hard to believe, but every 39 minutes in the U.S. on average, someone is killed in a traffic collision that is caused by impaired driving. So stop and think about that. Almost every half hour, every hour that goes by your day, practically 2 people have been killed in a drunk driving crash in the United States. If that statistic isn't alarming enough for you, I don't know what to tell you. You know, all the evidence is there. If you've ever driven impaired, certainly, you hopefully have learned your lesson of how difficult it is to drive impaired. If you haven't, hopefully, like some of our younger students, you've been, exposed to the wobble goggles or something with our Lafourche Parish DA's office, where they show you what it's like if you're impaired and what your vision's like, what your reaction time is like. Everything just slows down. And so it's important for you to understand what the causes and really the results of what that can happen. No matter how cognitive you think you are in making a decision to drink and drive, at the end of the day, if you get in that car and if you had anything to drink, you shouldn't be behind the wheel. And if you do, our deputies will be out there looking for you and hopefully finding you before you can cause a crash or potentially hurt yourself or anyone else.
Yeah, and before somebody becomes a statistic in an accident that you have caused because of poor planning. And we talk about it all the time as we kind of wrap up this segment here. You know, it is so very easy to make a plan ahead of time. We talk about it all the time.
It is, and the reality is, people often are selfish when they're making that decision, because oftentimes you think, well, worst case scenario, I can get a DWI and I have the money, I'll just deal with that. Well, even if that's the case, that's not the worst case scenario. The worst case scenario is that you end up killing someone, or you end up dying yourself, or even worse yet, if you can think about this, what if you have your family with you and you make that decision to have a drink or two and then get behind the wheel? Now you're endangering their lives as well. Could you even live with yourself if you caused a crash that killed your child or someone else's child just because you made that selfish decision to drink and drive, when, as you just pointed out, there are plenty of ways in 2023 that you can find a designated driver or hire one through any sorts of alternatives. So there's really no excuse anymore. There never really was, but there's certainly no excuse in 2023 to not have a plan before you go out to drink.
And we want people to do two things. We want them to plan ahead, take care of your family, keep them safe. And we also want them to come and be a part of the bike giveaway that you guys are doing, which is so very exciting. And I know that's going really well, right?
Yeah, and we're at the point where we've basically we've bought all the bikes that we need. We have over 200 bikes that are tagged and ready to go out the door. We'll be delivering them next week. We're going to start on Tuesday, December 19th. So anyone that signed up for a bike, if you get one, it will be next week. We will not let anyone know. We're simply going to deliver the bikes. But if you are interested in still donating to the program, we still have a long wait list. So any bike or any money that you're able to give to the sheriff's office, you can drop it off at any of our locations. Just means that one more child or potentially multiple children will get a new bike for Christmas thanks to you.
All right. We appreciate it. Brendan, thanks for all your time, your education, all you do in the community. We appreciate it.
Thanks, Keith.
All right. And that will do it for this particular segment of Bayou Time. Don't go anywhere. A lot more local programming right here on HTV.